If I only had an hour to chop down a tree, I would spend the first 45 minutes sharpening my axe. Anybody remember who said that? Abraham Lincoln. Great quote, use it all the time in the business world, and perfect for habit number 7, sharpen the saw. That's taking time to go back and fine tune, energize the other 6 habits and your life. So in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey goes into the 4 dimensions of renewal, and he introduces them as physical, social, emotional, spiritual, and mental. He also points out a dozen other authors and speakers and modern thinkers that go into this concept in a variety of different ways throughout their teachings. In fact, in the One Thing book, which we went into a little bit in the beginning, remember there were the 7 circles, like those fit into these 4. So as we're looking at this, something else to consider is if you're looking at these 4 dimensions in an area of a healthy and balanced life, you might have your tone, that's like your exercise and endurance, right? You could have connectedness, perspective, autonomy. If you're looking at it through motivation and organization, you've got your economics, which is the physical, how people are treated, your contribution, others' contribution, and then how people are being developed, again, yourself or others. Looking at it in the terms of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the physical is caring for our bodies. Again, that's the endurance, the flexibility. You know, where else are we going to live if we don't keep our bodies in good shape? Like, this is looking directly at habit number 1. Remember habit number 1? Proactivity. So if you are proactive and you take care of the body, boom, you're gonna have better results. Make sure to take time each day to take care of your body and sharpen that saw. Number 2 is the spiritual. So in the spiritual, in regards to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that's beginning with the end in mind. So taking that time to reflect, to think inside, to do that first creation, that first planning. And there's a story in the book that he gave, which was about a guy that went to a doctor and said, you know, how stressed he was and all the other pieces that were going on. And the doctor said, hey, listen, I'm going to give you 4 prescriptions. I want you to go off into the woods and every 3 hours open a new one of these prescriptions. He's like, really? That's it? He's like, is this a joke? The guy was like, no, it's not a joke, but you won't think it's a joke when you see my bill. And so the guy goes off in the woods and sits down near the river on the bank and pauses, opens up the first prescription, and it says, listen carefully. He's like, I'm supposed to open up one of these every 3 hours. What am I supposed to listen to carefully for the next 3 hours? So he sits there and he starts to listen. And as time goes on, he realizes he starts hearing more and hearing more and hearing more. He hears initially just a little bit of the breeze and then some crackling of the leaves and then some twigs and some birds and the bugs crawling and the water trickling. So he spends that 3 hours basically in meditation. The second one he opened, it says, try reaching back. He's like, what does that even mean? What does it mean, try reaching back? So he stretched a little bit. Like, well, maybe that's not what it was. Maybe I'm supposed to reach back in my memories. And so as he sat there, again, still listening, he paused to reflect and began thinking back to all the positive memories that he had in his life. The next prescription was examine your motives. And as he paused to think about his motives and his reasons, he realized that not all of his motives were clean. Not all of his intentions were good-willed. That a lot of times he did want things for himself instead of working on helping others and developing others. And then the final one was to write his worries in the sand. So he took that 4th prescription and write the worries, and coincidentally, again, he was on the riverbank. So he reached down, picked up a stick and began writing all of his worries into the mud of the riverbank. And then he got up and he walked away. And he knew that the water would wash away his worries, and he wasn't worried about it. So that's spiritual, taking that time to invest in yourself and think internally. The greatest battles of life are often fought in the silent chambers of our soul. And so then we go into mental. Mental is that third habit, right? The third habit being what? Y'all remember what the third habit was? We got proactivity, begin with the end in mind. I don't know why I'm expecting you all to answer. But look it up. Look it up. So that third habit, that mental acuity, the thinking about others and making sure that we are taking action, right? Moving into action. And with that, the same way, we usually leave our schooling behind when we leave school, but we need to spend time in our head writing down that plan and taking those steps forward to grow. So what are you doing to train your mind? What are you doing to move forward and to grow? In a lot of different self-help circles, they talk about taking these three and doing them throughout the hour. So if you were to take an hour each day on these three, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, and just spend an hour each day toning, stretching, exercising, meditating, and working on that spiritual, and then reinvesting in your education and your activities, like reading a book, etc., listening to a good podcast, watching my video, then like you would be well on the way to having very good private victories. Because remember, that's the first three habit, private victories. This one, social and emotional, moves into the second set of three habits, the 4, 5, and 6. It's all conveniently bundled into one. So remember what we went into with social and emotional. The first one, the first habit being that, we should embrace those differences. I can see that we are different. And then let me listen to you. Let me hear where you're coming from. And then let's do this together. Let's be synergistic, right? So that's the public victories in the group and in the habits. And again, this seventh habit loops it all together by telling you to work on those areas. So in the social and emotional, you're working on that area by just living your life each day with the interactions that you're having out there, who it is that you're interacting with, how it is that you're responding to them. Again, I can see that we're different. Let me listen to your side and let's do this together. That's the 7 habits. There's a summary chapter, and we're going to go over that tomorrow. And just remember, this is all about a success spiral. So you want to learn it, you want to commit to it, and then you want to do it. Learn it, commit to it, do it. Learn it, commit to it, do it. Thank you all. Last day of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People tomorrow. Check out the next video. Have a great one.